Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, friends and family from around the world, to the Energetic Life Now show. I am your host, Eric Stenlake. I am so honored and grateful that you guys are tuning in tonight to spend some time with us. We are very, very excited that you're here. This show is being broadcast on the Spanglish World and Her Networks, which is on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. The app is free and available for your iOS and Android devices. And when you download the free app, make sure you leave us a like and a comment. We would really, really appreciate that. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. So, Energetic Life Now, friends and family, what is shaking? What's happening? So glad you guys are here. Whether this is your first time tuning in, you're catching the replay, or you're returning here to spend time with us, we just want to give a very, very warm welcome to you and to our amazing guest making her grand reappearance on the Energetic Life Now show. Always a great time to have my dear friend Emily here. And Emily, great to have you here. What's happening? How are you? What's going on?
Oh, great to be here, Eric. It's always a pleasure and a fun experience to bring energetic life and ignited presence together in this moment today on this wonderful Tuesday. And today, my intention is to guide you, to show you, to create an experience of presence as I share some key parts in my journey that really just ignited my presence into my life with myself, with my kids, with my creator, with nature, with the world, and just truly just honored to be here today, Eric.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and I'm so glad that we are here and ready to rock and roll. And let's give a great shout out here to our friend Lisa Thomas L in New Jersey. I'm a former Jersey boy myself. I'm out on the West Coast now, but former Jersey boy here. So great to have you tuning in from the great state of New Jersey. Great to have you here. So, Emily, share with us a little bit about yourself and what you do for our listeners, maybe that have not seen you yet here on the Energetic Life Now show.
Absolutely. I am a neuroencoding specialist and coach, and I'm a healing guide. And what I do is I create a space for those that are ready to take their growth and healing to the next level. And I create a space that is full of tools and resources where we can, first of all, bring peace to your mind with some neuroencoding tools. I guide you gracefully with some simple practices such as journaling, breathing, meditation, and just practicing presence. And together we just create a team work where we grow together, and we create just an opportunity for us to experience presence in our life, experience a new level of beauty with every single breath, with every moment, and a new level of appreciation for life. And just to add, of having that drive to an excitement to get out of bed in the morning and just be yourself.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And maybe for some of the listeners that might be not really aware or the first time hearing about what presence is, maybe you could kind of just give us a little bit of a breakdown. Like, what does it mean when you're saying, "Hey, we're gonna get into presence, or we're gonna explore the space of presence"? Like, what is that? What are we talking about here?
Absolutely. So, simply put, we have these little cell phone devices, right? And when we are tuned into our cell phones, nothing else around us is even existing. So, with presence, all of a sudden we're open to a perspective of seeing life, of experiencing life. So, it can be as simple as putting that phone down and being present during a dinner with your family, or walking into a grocery store and smiling at someone as you walk in and saying good morning, good afternoon. Presence can be very simple. And oftentimes we have overlooked how simple and how powerful presence can be. Simply a smile could just shift someone's day in that moment. It could save a life. And, so together, like with simple practices, see, so simple as a smile. And then we can take it to many different levels tonight. And today actually, it marks the 3-year um, day, the anniversary of when my mother passed away.
Oh,
And I want to share a little bit, if I have your audience permission, I have your permission to go a little deep tonight, to share a little bit of my story, my truths, my level of presence that I was able to just trust. As I have become more present along my journey, and starting off with just being present with my children and with myself, and then growing that and getting to know myself. So 3 years ago, I stepped off of an airplane, and with my phone blowing up, and I had just received a call that my mother had died. And I had just arrived at a healing event, a soul liberation healing event in that moment. Now, just 2 weeks prior to that, I was sitting at a restaurant with my daughter, and we were having breakfast at this new place together. And I was just barely into my own deep healing journey. Yet in this moment, there was this presence that I felt, this love, this beam of just love and the connection that I was having with my daughter. We were sharing our dreams, our desires. However, yet there was something that just calling my attention. So even in that moment, I just sat back in that restaurant and I just began to just observe every being in that space, and just expressing my gratitude for being there, and gratitude for them being there, for them showing up for themselves and seeing the love within them. And, this presence that I felt, I can't describe it any other way except as love, something magical, something mystical. And as we go throughout the meal and as we're about to leave, I'm very curious of what is happening. Why am I feeling this all of a sudden right now in this moment? And someone walks by me and they go, "Mom, I'm right here." And I say to myself, I said, "Oh, my mom. My mom is coming to visit me this weekend. I'm going to have to bring her here." And so immediately I thought of her. Now, have you ever had that moment where you're all of a sudden you're thinking of someone and they call you,
yeah.
right? And that there is just uh, a simple example of how our presence is connected to each other even when we're not around.
Yeah.
And so when I got to the car and I checked my phone, I received a message that my mom had currently been in testing at a hospital, and they just discovered that she had 90% blockage in her artery. And so to me, in my perspective, in that moment, it was like I felt my mother calling out to me, to reaching out to me. And as I was with my daughter, and we were experiencing such a very loving moment, and it was even like this level of certainty that I felt in the connection that I had with my mom. And it was something that I always knew that I had, but I started to understand until that moment. And so as that week went on, we had a lot of graduation activities, a lot of things happening, and it was very challenging. And it was challenging because, first of all, I knew that I needed to be present for my kids. Yet I found myself starting to get stuck in some worry. And I started to feel a little bit of anger and guilt, like all these feelings of grief, even though my mom was still alive. And I'm sharing this right now because as I was feeling these emotions, I allowed them to come up. And I expressed them with my daughters, and I cried with them. And we talked about, what if someone did die? And, the experience of it. That would have been the first time my kids experienced something like that. And it was so beautiful that just to be with my home team in that moment and being able to share authentically with them. And as I talk about presence, even those moments, like, sometimes we have a tendency to not share with our kids what we're feeling, as fear of looking weak or being not enough in that moment. Yet by doing this, it's created this two-way communication, this two-way understanding, this two-way respect and level of compassion for each other, that now by just when we're open and honest with our kids, we build trust and we build our connection. And I have just seen that, just grow in so many ways over the last 3 years. And then as I began to find myself a little bit stuck in the emotion, right? And it's easy to get stuck in those emotions. There was something that happened with me physically. I started to like hyperventilate. I have this history of asthma, and all of a sudden I just felt like this darkness that just started to come over me in my space. And I paused and I was like, wait a second. I'm like, I need to be here to take care of my kids. And here I'm just wallowing, and my mother is still alive. And so in that moment, it was like this light bulb just came on. I'm like, wait a second, she's alive right now. And I'm going to do my best. I just want to love her. I want to be present with her. I want to appreciate her. And there was also this level of relief of knowing how connected I had felt to her in that moment when she was reaching out to me. Knowing and having this faith, even though I did not understand it at that time, that her connection and her presence is going to be with me for the rest of my life and beyond. And so as this happened, and I started then to become more able to then become back into my own present moment and to experience the graduation ceremonies. And I had a visit where I got to go see my mother, and it was Mother's Day weekend. And on this weekend, I'm just going to pause just for a second, take a quick drink of water.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have any questions, Eric, of anything that I needed to clarify more or speak more on before I
No,
continue?
no, you're doing a great job. I am just in this with you. This is an amazing story.
Oh, thank you. And, just in this moment right now, how about we just take a deep breath together and close our eyes for just a brief second and become present with our breath. And breathe in and out. And just one more breath together, in and out. And as we step into a new level of presence, as I dive deeper with you, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And thank you for your presence and your attention to learn my story, to hear a perspective that maybe might just open you up to experience a new level of beauty in your life. And thanks again, Eric. I love being here. So it was actually the day of my daughter's it was the day of Mother's Day. I'm skipping around. Mother's Day. Here I am. Yes, on Mother's Day, 3 years ago. This Mother's Day was something that I will remember for the rest of my life. I went there with my girls for the weekend, and over this weekend, there was something that was just beautiful flowing within my mother. Like, she was glowing, she was happy, she was joyful, and she had been doing yard work, and everything was just like it was like normal. It was like mom, but there was something even though a little bit different. There was this level of acceptance. There was a level of acceptance that we had for each other. And it was so incredible to listen to her share some of her stories as from when she was younger, and for me to share my dreams with her, like at this whole new level of acceptance. And all this healing, all the connection that I was doing before I got there, I felt that she was experiencing it as well and opening up to receive me as I was opening up to receive her, and just support each other in that moment. We ended up dancing that day. My daughter, she had the phone out and took some pictures of us. We had our first selfie, first and our last selfie that we took on that day. And that day when I left on Mother's Day, when I leave, it's always, my mother has always had tears in her eyes. But this time, she did not have tears in her eyes. However, I did.
Mm.
And, it was just such a bittersweet moment to witness that and to feel that. And now I feel that too now every time when I depart from my dad. It's like, in a way, I'm skipping a little bit, but I felt like this presence of her love so strongly in that moment, as if it was just like handed to me in a way of just loving the connection, loving the time, loving the experience that we were having together. And whew, this one is, I admit, a little bit emotional for me
Yeah.
to go through this process and share this story. And I'm so grateful that I get to do that today. And as I talk about presence and leading up to the day when my mother passed away, there was a few more moments that came up. There was a lot of chaos that actually kind of just started to happen around us. And it was all happening for a reason. The graduation dinners, the graduation itself, like all this chaos, growing us all in that moment to reconnect to the present moment, to acknowledge what was happening around us, however, to stay true to who we are and to reconnect with this inner peace that we know is there and this love that is there. And even throughout the chaos that we experienced, to still continue to see love and appreciation in that moment. And there was a moment at graduation where my youngest daughter was sitting in front of us, playing with one of her friends, and their parents were there, and their parents were kind of turned to their back, and I was behind them, and they were playing, and then suddenly the little girl started to spin around, and we're on bleachers. And her mom turned around and told her to stop. That that's not safe. And her daughter kept doing it, and my daughter, I asked her to come just sit down. I was like, she shouldn't be doing that. And there was something that happened just in that moment of I want to say that I feel shame for this moment, and I even feel a little bit of guilt. And all that came up for me, all for a reason. And when this little girl didn't stop spinning and her mother didn't see her, she was turned around and she fell. She almost went like head first down in the bleachers. And immediately it was like this, like, like, I don't know how to describe it except for that the tears and the emotion just flooded out. Tears of love, tears of grief, feeling that shame, feeling that guilt for that little girl, even though I know it wasn't my fault, and, wanting to do more, as it even relates to the guilt of not picking up my phone calls every time my mother called, and how interesting it was that those layers of grief were showing up in different experiences of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, as different layers of grief were showing up in different experiences, and yet I did not understand at that time, it was allowing me to process different emotions, connect with him, release them, and begin a healing process for the grief of my mother. And, so the very next day, right after that, was when I had stepped off this airplane. And I had showed up at a healing event. And, I was very angry. And, and there was a part of me that's like, do I get back on an airplane? Do I turn around? Do I go home?
Yeah.
Right. And then there was this part of me that's like, wait a second, I'm here at a healing event. And just taking into consideration everything that I experienced, all the guidance, the synchronicities, the moments of processing and healing already, I had been guided there to heal. And it wasn't just for me in that moment. And it never has been. And I'm a youngest of 10, and I have a big family and children and lots of nieces and nephews. So going into this healing event, which I decided to stay there. As soon as I opened the door, I was welcomed by these beautiful souls. Actually, my friend Lisa Thomasell, who's on here right now, she was the first person that I saw, and she gave me the biggest hug. It just held me. And in that moment, I felt like my mother was hugging me. And her presence was there with us. And as I was, of course, there was a lot of mixed feelings that was happening. However, throughout my entire weekend of healing, it was like as if each person was carrying a presence of a loved one in my life. And as each person shared something they were experiencing, I could connect to what they were, to one of my siblings or my parents may have experienced as well. So as I, am a neuroencoding specialist, and when I journal, what I write, I invite.
Mm-hmm.
And as I am engulfed and immersed in this experience, and as I am witnessing the healing, I am writing down the healing with the intentions of supporting my loved ones. And such a there's so many stories I could go into with that, but it was then again, right at the end of that event. When I got there, my amazing healers, Jason and Carol and Azuna, they came to me and they offered me a special session just with them. And in that moment, I was appreciative. I was grateful. I was like, but you know what? Let's continue with the event. It's like, I'm going to be all right. And I got up. That was one of my very first opportunities that I ever spoke in a large group of people. And as I shared the story that guided me and led me there, just the presence that came through my voice, that came through my ability to suddenly be a unstoppable speaker, was just like unleashed. And I felt so much love and so much presence in that moment. And then as we're leaving, as everything is getting complete, then there was something that just came to me that all of a sudden I could not stop crying. I had all this emotion, no matter what, in that moment. And so much of my experience, I wanted to be there, even though I wasn't physically there for my family. I wanted to be there as much as possible to spiritually be able to guide them and to support the healing, even though they didn't even know or understand what I was even being a part of in that moment. And I realized right there at the end that I forgot about myself. And, and the reason that I am bringing this up right now is because without me focusing on healing myself in that moment, it was going to be a lot more challenging for me to show up for anyone else. And so I I had an experience with two beautiful angels and that we got to heal together. And this song, True Colors, was playing during it. And there was just something just so incredible that was just like releasing the doubts, the worries, the pain, and allow me to just be free, to be free as me, and to be free to embody presence in a whole new level. And during my mother's celebration of life, I was able to bring the joy to the sadness. And I was guided to connect with those that were ready to receive, or, or those that needed to hear or feel my mother's presence. And it was so magical, so mystical. I still in awe of the experience that I had, and it took some time, some more layers of grieving to happen after that. And as Mother's Day was this weekend, and sharing this with you today on the day that she died, it was not it was a birth. It was like a rebirth for me, for the presence of her soul, and being able to release that, as her youngest, and release that attachment to her physical presence,
Yeah.
and to be able to set her soul free. you know hmm. And that's where presence even can go into many other layers of what we find ourselves becoming attached to. For example, as I started with our phone, and when we release that attachment to it, how that just simply unleashes a new level of presence and freedom. Hmm. So I know I've gone on quite a bit. Do you have any questions or anything you would like to add and into your own experience? I this ignited experience, this ignited presence experience. We've spoken many times, Eric, and it's always joyful and fun. And I was curious if I could ask you a question, Eric, and if you might be able to describe how an ignited presence brings a smile to your face, or how my presence has impacted you, if it has in any way.
Well, 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 well. Where do we start? Listen, you got first of all, I just thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing such a beautiful, beautiful moment with all of us. This was truly a gift that you just gave to us in sharing that and going into your story. Like I'm just like, wow, that was just so wonderful. And the story of how you found that gift of presence in a time of which was just gut wrenching
Mm.
grief and sorrow. And I'm with you. I don't know that I could have gone through that. And I don't know that I could not have gone through that to be able to come out the other side to say I stuck with being there in that time and space of being present and healing, to then be able to bring that with me and give that to someone else.
Mm.
Like what a beautiful gift that you received in order to give. And I just thank you so much for sharing that
Mm.
with everybody around the world. That was yeah, just absolutely magical. Uh,
Mm.
I I I look at this whole idea of presence and being aware and open to receive what is going on around me and to be present enough to pick up on that and to allow that to come to me, even if I don't understand why, and then have that be revealed to me. And then like I'm turning to someone and there they are. And then being able to, how are you doing? Is everything okay? I'm sensing that maybe something's on your mind or on your heart. And when people say, and I'm sure this has happened to you too, I'm like, wow, how did you know? Wow, I am so glad you stopped and said something to me. And it's because I love how our hearts and our spirits will align in that moment to have that connection so that we can be present for someone, even if we have no idea that they needed us and that we could be of service to them. And I think that's what is just such a gift for me as an educator and a teen and family coach. I walk around this middle school with these kids that are just off the wall, like trying to herd butterflies all day long with middle school kids. And yet, how many of them will come to me, near me, past me, by me, and they don't know why. And I just smile at them because I know why. There's something that they need from me right there in that moment. And whether we ever exchange words, they can draw from my strength. They can draw from my love. They can draw from my peace, my comfort, my hope. And then it's like kids that I don't even work with. I don't even know their names. And they're just, hi, Mr. S. Hi, Mr. S. And I love that. And so for listeners around the world, I think for if there's something that I could encourage all of us on is being ready and open and aware and vulnerable enough to be present, to be able to be in that space, to help someone else that we don't even understand why and what they need. But we can feel that and we can connect to that emotion. We can connect to that spirit. And I mean, I loved it. I love going to the grocery store and looking at people in the eyes like a weirdo. And you're like, what are you looking at? Oh my gosh, look at this guy. What a weirdo. And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm saying, hi, I love you.
Right.
I do that around school and kids look at you like, what? Who is this guy? And I'm like, yeah, I love you. And I'm not saying it out loud, but I'm thinking it and feeling it and I'm saying it. And that's where that connection's made. And then all of a sudden I will see that kid again later on in the day and they got a big old smile on their face. It's contagious. And I love that we can really expand ourselves and open up and be able to gift what we have to someone else. And I love that. I love being able to be present for other people. And our dear friend Vinay over in India, he's saying, I love you, Eric, for being a great host and being such a great listener. I love your silence. And he said, I love honestly, simply, and the integrity of Emily. Emily, you're a special soul on earth. I admire you for your truthfulness. God bless you and your family. Right. And even though we're miles and miles away, we can all still feel and pick up on our presence and being vulnerable and open for each other. And so I would just challenge all of us. Where in our lives can we be more present? Where can we start? Is it me personally? Is it me with my family? Is it me with my friends? Where is that moment of time of which I can tap into and say, yeah, this is a space and place right here I can be more vulnerable with. I can be more open. I can be more present. I can't tell you how many parents I have coached that they're driving in the driveway and I say, take a couple minutes, sit in the car, take some time for yourself,
Mm.
debrief, let it go, take some breathing, put on some joy music, music that brings you joy. Get back into your body, get back into yourself because you've been out all day and working and around. Come back in here. And when you feel that you're ready, get out of the car, walk into the house, and greet your family with love and open hearts and open minds and strength and service, and be able to have that energy to go into this space and time with them, of
Mm.
which they get to draw from your love and attention because they've been separated from you. Because what do kids want to do? You walk in the door and boom, they want to come right to you, especially when they're little, right?
Yeah.
And come running and grab on, big hugs. Hey, how's it going? Let's wrestle, let's play, let's do something. And
Yeah.
then you need that as much as they do. And sometimes we forget that as adults because why? Yeah, we got this thing right here, right?
Mm.
We forget to be present.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful, Eric. You are an ignited presence. Absolutely. And, with my business name, Ignited Presence, we all have an ignited presence.
Mhm.
And, having a coach and a guide that has been through the steps in the process it's a lot more graceful to have that support along the way. And as we talk about the children and remembering, right? Remembering that child, remembering who we were as a child, remember that sense of freedom that we were given when we came into this world. It's connected to our level of presence that we have, because when we are distracted by outside things or outside beliefs, doubts, or simply being told no, especially if we're trying to just like express ourselves, we start to hide and we become disconnected from ourselves. And during the whole journey of growth is becoming reconnected to your authentic self, to that inner child that was brought into this world to experience life and to experience a life of love. As a baby comes into this world, what do you see? You see love immediately. There's no other thoughts that come into your mind except for love. And that's who we are. We are all these loving beings, yet we forget, and we lose track. And it's just a little simple act of, giving a smile and making that eye contact that just gradually starts to bring us back into this present moment. And it's such a I want to say that life is just beautiful.
Mhm.
Even the struggling moments, the challenging moments, there is beauty. And I mentioned this a few times, as life was happening for me, and I was just starting to learn what that meant, as life is guiding me to experience. And the more I connected with my presence, with my authentic self, the more guidance I am able to receive, the true level of trust and the level of faith, and knowing of what I was experiencing was happening for me, yet even if I did not understand.
Yeah.
It's like I hear often, one of my coaches says all the time, sometimes you know nothing, however, you know everything at the same time. Because even though I did not understand, I did not know, subconsciously there's something that did know, and it pulled me forward. It guided me to trust and have faith in that moment. And especially as we celebrated mothers this weekend, just that true nature, like, of our mothers. We all have a mother, right? We all have a mother, and there's a connection there, whether we had a good relationship with our mom, or whether they're still alive, or whether we even knew our mother. There was a connection there. She brought us into this life,
Yeah.
And it's quite incredible, as I am a mother of four, to even reflect on this with my own kids of, these souls I brought into this world through these beings, and how, what an incredible group of souls have been chosen to be with me. It's a blessing to be a mother, and to acknowledge all of those mothers out there, and even those mothers that did need to give up their child for one reason or the other. Releasing that guilt and of that, if there is even guilt related to it, or any of those emotions of grief that come through. Like, grief can come through in any experience, and even it came through to me just this last week of an excuse me, of an intense layer of emotion that surfaced. And there was something that just like connected me to it. Grief is like, it's like you have this love, yet nowhere to direct it in that moment. And sometimes we don't understand it in that moment. And I didn't understand it in that moment. I kind of had an idea, but there wasn't a true understanding. And, as I found myself busy through that day and not being able to allow myself to connect to those emotions I was feeling, I quickly interrupted myself and said, you know what? These emotions are happening for me right now, whether it's challenging me in this moment. One thing I do know, and what I have grown as a part of my practice, is taking that time for myself to feel that emotion and express it truly. Because there's so many times in my life that did not express it, and I stored it inside my body, and that's where it's a healing guide of being able to connect to where those emotions get stored in our body. Our body's always talking to us,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Always. And
Yeah. I love when you said, you're talking about your kids and that, their their souls chose you to be their mom. And I heard a story recently that the person was talking about how, we are souls and we chose to come here and do this and be on this planet and be here for a given amount of time. And I've really been challenging myself this year, 2024, and really to reconnect with my soul as to why I chose to come here.
mm,
And that has opened up so much learning for me. Like, I had no idea. I woke up and I was like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back into the schools. I had done my years of teaching and done all that. And I just woke up one day and I said, I'm going back into the schools. I didn't understand why. And I started doing some sub teaching and landed in this middle school that my kids went to. And wouldn't you know, there was a boy there that needed me. And he's neurodivergent and has some other health challenges also along the way. And they were like, hey, could you work with this guy full time? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I didn't understand at the time. And this is going back to what I was talking about, being present, walking around the school and walking around the campus. And, I love it because the kids are, hi, Mr. S. And they've even changed it now to saying, hi, bestie. Like, I'm their best friend. And they're making, the hearts. Like, if you're Taylor Swift fans, you know what I'm talking about here. Right. And I'm walking around. Like, I got to make sure I got nothing in my hands if I'm walking around campus, because hearts are all over the place. Hi, bestie. Hi, bestie. And I didn't understand the why behind it waking up that day. But I was called. My spirit was called to go in and do this and be in this space with these kids. And
mm,
the healing that I've been able to have with my own inner self and being able to have that healing with some of these kids that are going through tough times. And I love that I was able to be aware enough to say this wasn't just a couple days sub job. Like I'm here for a specific reason, and it was revealed to me. So I think when we're in the space of presence, to be really listening, open and in tune with what is coming to us from God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to say for that, and being open and listening to that so that you can discover why you're supposed to be there and then what you're supposed to do with that gift.
Amen. Absolutely. I love that so much. And being there for the kids, as you know, that definitely ties as well to a big part of my journey of presence and being in the classroom with the kids. And really, that was a huge stepping stone of seeing how valuable presence is in a classroom and for the children. And then as it's grown to everyone, and that inner child that we all have, you know, and one of the things I've said since the beginning of my journey is I am here for the kids. And as I connected with my presence and grew my presence and being there for, I have 43 nieces and nephews and my own kids. And it's just, to be one with each other, to be open to receiving the love that is all around us, just as you said, being open to receive. And so I invite you, audience, are you open to experiencing a new level of love in your life? Take a look around right now in this moment. There is love everywhere. Everywhere. Even if it doesn't look like it to you, there is love within it because we are all made from love.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Emily, so much. Emily, please share with our listeners where they can find you on social media, please.
Absolutely. You can find me at A Pirate's Eye Perspective and at Ignited Presence and Ignited Presence Coaching on Facebook as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Emily, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. And I encourage you guys to reach out to Emily. She's the person I go to. So when I've got stuff going on, I'm on the phone, I'm on a Zoom with Emily, and she's guiding me. And I always love that about you, my sister, that we get to be in this space, place, and time together and go through our journeys together. I love you for that. And thank you for that. Of course, you guys know, for me, Energetic Life Now, I'm on all the social medias. And also don't forget about my private Facebook group, the Empowered Family Network, private Facebook group. Go jump on there and we'll get you in. We talk everything for families in there from birth to death, and you'll get to experience coaching in the car with Eric every morning before school. It's an absolute blast. Just want to say thanks again for you guys for being here. It's always an honor and privilege to serve you through this platform, and I just love you guys so much. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check it out at spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thanks for being here. We'll see you soon.